My name is Rick Peters and I played King Pellinore. This guy is a complete lunatic. He's off the wall, very eccentric, over the top. You cannot be too far over the top with this guy. The more over the top, the better you are. This guy provides the comic relief for this show. He's an absolute nut. And really his only connection, he's a boyhood friend of King Arthur. And he happens to wander into Camelot and voila, oh, here's my good buddy, King Arthur, so I think I'll stick around. So he's going to be his side man, his lieutenant, so to speak. And of course he does, tangle with some of the other characters, and it's just very funny to see him get frustrated and just go crazy. So it was a lot of fun playing this part. The biggest challenge was the first scene that I do. Some of the words were really not common words that you hear every day, so it takes longer to stick. And the lines were disjunction. They didn't make sense. There was no beginning, middle, and end, so it took a little bit more time to memorize. And then the tough part was breaking down the scene to, different sections. Now I do this, and when she says that, I'm going to move here and I'm going to talk about this, and then after that I'm going to talk about this. So this first scene was very challenging, but I literally had to change some of the words so that I could memorize them. So, grab yourself a ray of sunshine and never let go. That's my interpretation. The actual line was different, but I couldn't remember it the way it was written, so I changed it a little bit. And I guess they call that artistic freedom. Well, this is my second show here. The first show I did here was the last show. Over the river and through the woods, I played an Italian immigrant. That was a lot of fun, and that hit home because the main character, the grandson, visits his grandparents every Sunday for dinner. And I wrote in the program, that was me 35 years ago. I visited my grandparents in Astoria for a Sunday dinner, so it was very personal and, the audience could associate with it. I've done acting all over the island. I've done off-Broadway. I've acted up and down the East Coast. I've been acting for 35 years. So it's a lot of fun. It's therapy. It makes you become a better person. I've met a lot of new friends. I've met a lot of girlfriends doing theater. It's great. And it just brings the best of you out. Of course, you're playing a character. You're playing somebody else. So when somebody says, how could you say that, or how could you do that silly, it wasn't me, it was the character. You see, that's the difference between playing a comic character and being a stand-up comedian. I would never do stand-up comedy. You could not pay me to do stand-up comedy. I don't have the talent, I don't have the ego. But playing a comic character, it's like you're wearing a mask. You're playing somebody else. So I'm giving the audience only what they get from me. My toughest audience would be people who know me personally. My best audience is a house full of strangers, because the only thing they get from me is what I give them. And the greatest thing about acting is standing on stage and you've got the audience in the palm of your hand. And they're eating out of the palm of your hand with saying the lines and all that. So it's a lot of fun. And you just have to have confidence in your ability. Never does everything go exactly according to plan. This show tonight, believe it or not, there were a few flub-ups. And you gloss over it. You just keep moving on. I missed a couple of lines myself, and Rusty was right there to help me through. So you help each other out. You help each other out, and it's a family situation. You come to an audition, you meet a bunch of strangers, and then you start rehearsal, and you really get to know these people. Because when you're rehearsing, you have to throw so much of yourself into it. So people really get to know you. It's not like you're an accountant, you go to work, people just see the accountant side of you. When you go home, they don't know who you are. Here, people really get to see who you are, because you have to throw yourself into the character to flesh out the character. You have to incorporate your own personality, your own eccentricities to flesh out the character. Of course, you can use an accent, you can change your posture, you can wear a costume, you can put makeup and all that, but you've got to bring yourself into this character. You've got to love your character. If you're playing a hero, if you're playing a villain, you've got to like that character. Because we're not getting paid here. This is a labor of love. We're all volunteers, and it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to meet people, it's a great way to act, it's a great, you know, it's a good feeling. Like I say, I've acted. I usually end up playing the outsider. I usually end up playing the potentially threatening character who comes into town, ooh, but then it turns out at the end I'm a nice guy. Because, you look at my build, I've got a deep voice, I've got a sinister laugh, I have played a lot of bad guys, I have played a lot of villains, I played a lot of cops. You put a cop uniform on me, you think I'm a cop. But I've played those characters, and in the end, I'm a nice guy. And I liked to play the eccentric, swarthy, little bit out there kind of character. This character is right up my role. In fact, next week, I'm going to an audition for another theater for Neil Simon's Barefoot in the Park. There's a role in there that I've played before, the upstairs neighbor, Victor Velasco. He's not a whole lot different than this guy. He thinks, the guy's in his 50s or 60s, but he thinks he's a young kid of 20, and he thinks he can run, and he can jog, and he can party, and he can chase women, and eventually, he realizes, hey, I have to act my age. But he's a bon vivant, and he's just a real character, and I'd like to get cast in that show. That would be a lot of fun. Yeah, it's great to meet people, and they're talented. They can, their acting can be very different from who they are themselves. Some actors, they're just playing themselves, basically. The worst part is when you get somebody who's obnoxious or is full of themselves. They sit in the dressing room with a cigar and they just don't have consideration for other people. You need to be in a company where people care about each other. Like I say, it's a family. And if somebody is, throwing a wrench in the machinery, that just makes it tough. But I've met a lot of good actors. And, acting is subjective. Artistically, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Now, this theater could do this show next year. Somebody else could be playing my role, could play it completely different, and it would still be good. Because you have to throw yourself into the role. Acting is the replication of life on demand. So, the way I do it is my interpretation. The way another actor would play this part would be his interpretation. So everybody has their own way of doing it. The main thing is that the bottom line, it has to be entertaining. Okay? Show business is a business, but you're putting on a show. So, artistically, there's no right or wrong. Now, technically, yeah, there are things you have to do. You have to be able to project. You have to be able to stand still so you don't distract another person when they're speaking. There's a certain way to sit down on the chair. There's a certain way to get up. When somebody crosses right, you counter cross left. So technically, there are right and wrong things to do, and you can learn that. I had the good fortune of going to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts many years ago, and I learned the ABCs of acting, and that helped. But like I say, artistically, there's no right or wrong. It's whatever the performer interprets the script. And of course, you have to be on the same page with the director too. The director is going to guide you. A good director knows how to bring that talent out of the actor and show it.